welcome back to LeafChat. I'm your host, I Love Thee Not. This week I'll be covering shootouts, outdoor games, defensemen, and visors. I think I'll start with questions though. Hang on a second. Alright, Ambar35 wrote, or asked me the question, who do I think is the best goalie? Or my favorite. I think that for my past favorite goalie, it would be Patrick Waugh. My current favorite would be Vesa Toskala. The one who I think is best is Martin Brodeur, and the goalie I think who will be the future best goaltender is Justin Pogge. So there you have it. That's who my favorite goalies and who I think are the best, past, present, and future. Alright, let's get to shootouts. Now, personally, I think shootouts are fun to watch, but I think they're a useless way to decide for who wins, who loses, you know what I mean? Because shootouts are really... It removes the grinders. It removes guys like Boyd Devereaux, Bates Battaglia, let's see, who else? Who else is a really good grinder? Chad Kilger, for example. That's another grinder that isn't, used, or wouldn't be used in the shootout because he can't score. Really, shootouts remove one of the best elements of hockey, the checker. And, so yeah, that's my opinion on shootouts. Hazelnut Man asked me the following question, and I didn't mention it earlier because I believe it relates to this topic too much, so I thought I'd mention it in the show. He asked me, in what way would I decide a game if I couldn't use continuous overtimes or continuous shootouts? Well, my answer to that would be I would have two players are chosen at random to take shots at a wide open net, and whoever gets it closest to in the net, or actually in it, would win the game for his team. However, if both players get the puck in the net, then I would have it repeat for 10 times, and then if it's still a tie after that, I would have the goal judges average up the shots, and whoever has the closest average to getting it on the net or in the net would win the game. I know it might not be the best way to decide games, but hey, he asked me that question, so I'm giving him my answer now, and I really hope that the NHL never decides to use it, because I would be very mad. The next topic I'm going to cover is outdoor games. Koosh sent me a question relating to outdoor games, if I thought they were a gimmick or a fad, and what I thought of them. Well, I really like outdoor games a lot. I think they add a lot to the NHL because it breaks up the monotony of playing in the arenas, and the players have a lot of fun, I would say. So, I think that outdoor games are an awesome idea for the NHL, and that they should have them yearly like they're doing right now, maybe even 2 a year. But that might become, well, I'm not sure how to say this. Okay, I thought of a way to say it. A bit tired. So, really, that's what I think of outdoor games. I think they're awesome, and that the NHL should do more of them. I'm really, 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 really looking forward to this one in, is it November or December? I forget right now. It's either that or January, of the Chicago Blackhawks versus the Detroit Red Wings. That's going to be a very interesting game because it's two original six teams, the Stanley Cup champions, versus a team that I think actually has a good shot at winning the Cup this year if they can get under the cap, which they're trying to do by trading, I think it's Nikolai Hevy-Bulin. I'm not sure of that. They could be trying to trade someone else, I don't know. Someone who's going to free up some cap, at least. Okay, so now I'm going to cover the topic of visors. I think that the NHL should make visors mandatory because, look at the OHL. Less players are getting hurt and getting eye injuries because they are forced to wear visors. So, I think that the NHL should, essentially, make visors mandatory like the OHL has. And take a look at NASCAR. Before the hands device, drivers were getting hurt, and, I mean, seriously, if the NHL would consider doing player safety like the OHL and NASCAR has with the hands device and the making visors mandatory, the NHL would have a lot less hurt players and a lot less eye injuries. I mean, seriously, look up on YouTube the injury Brian Berard had when he played for the Leafs. That eye injury could have been a career-ending one, and it nearly was. I mean, sure, you could say, well, it's the player's choice. Well, yes, it essentially is, but wouldn't it be better to be a safe player who can play for a very long time than a hurt player who will probably have to retire due to an eye injury? Seriously, this would help a lot. So yeah, that's my take on visors. Make them mandatory and you'll see injuries come down like crazy, and it'll make the game more fun overall because you'll be seeing the star players a lot more. I mean, look at Alex Ovechkin. He's probably got the most points total over the past 3 years in the NHL, and he wears a visor. Crosby, I believe, wears a visor as well. I'm not sure of that. I'll have to check on that and probably mention it next podcast. So yeah, definitely make visors mandatory. And finally, my last topic of the evening will be defensemen and how they've evolved over the years. Originally, the NHL, when it was just the Detroit Red Wings, the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Montreal Canadiens, the Chicago Blackhawks, and I forget the other two teams right now. I'll check that later. Were defensive defensemen. There were hardly any puck-moving defensemen, and as the NHL has evolved, there has been more and more puck-moving defensemen. However, I think that puck-moving defensemen are too much of a role-playing defenseman. There needs to be more guys like Dion Phaneuf, Kevin Bieksa, and Shea Weber who can play both ends of the puck. I mean, seriously, a complete defenseman is a lot better than a guy like Caberlet. Sure, Caberlet puts up the points. He gets between 50 to 60 points a year, but look at his defensive numbers. They're absolutely terrible. Most of the time, he's a minus rating. Seriously, take a look at Phaneuf's numbers. He's a great two-way defenseman. He was a plus 12 last year, and I think Caberlet was only a plus 8 at most. I mean, sure, that's a minimal difference to most people, but really, every plus in a plus-minus rating counts, because if you have a minus rating or have a low plus-minus rating, what I mean by that is a low plus, like a plus 1, plus 2, plus 3, then you're really a defensive liability. Sure, there are some who have really good offensive numbers and they can make up for that, but guys like Ian White, who are basically too scrawny and too small to play in the NHL, who have low point totals and a low plus-minus rating, are not something that you want on your team. Now, Dion Phaneuf, who is 6'3", 215 pounds, is a great guy because he can play a checking role and he can also play a soft player's role like Thomas Caberlet. Thomas Caberlet is big for a big guy, but he's soft for his size, so he can sometimes be a defensive liability. And so yeah, that's how I think that defensemen should be playing more like. I think that they should be playing more like Phaneuf, checking like they're supposed to, and actually moving the puck around. So NHL teams should really consider drafting more complete defensemen than these offensive pansies that we're seeing right now. Alright, that's me done for this week. Next week I have no idea what I'll be covering, but I hope that it'll be some good topics or a topic. Oh, and before I go, here's the question of the week, which is a new segment for my podcast. Who is third overall in points for all time for a Leafs defenseman? Please PM me or email me your responses. Thank you.